let me throw this at you
Okay.
because I think just about every time I've ever talked to you, a certain head coach was in charge of that football program down there, and that's a pretty popular guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a different guy who's been just about as successful as anyone over the last 3 or 4 seasons, but not necessarily living up to standards, of course, in his first season in Alabama. Have you been able to gauge the difference in the way this program is run, Saban versus DeBoer?
Yeah, yeah. Coach DeBoer's been here long enough now, and I will say this, Mark. One thing I do appreciate about Coach DeBoer is that he is running it his way, and he's not. He respects Coach Saban. I think they've leaned on him some, certainly in recruiting. He's come in and helped with some recruits, and they acknowledge his greatness, but they're not a slave to, hey, this is the way Nick Saban did it, so it's the way we got to do it. Even last year, in that at times was a rough transition, and that's Alabama lost 4 games, which around here they had not lost 4 games, had lost that many games since 2007, which was Nick Saban's first year. Missed the playoff, missed the SEC championship game. So overall, based on the expectations for last season and based on the talent level, I thought that team was a college football playoff team in terms of talent. So last year was a disappointment. Let's be clear on that. But the one thing that really stands out for Coach DeBoer is he coaches within himself. And I know everybody's saying, well, doesn't every coach? No, you know what I'm talking about, Mark. You've been around. You see coaches sometimes that are trying to coach to the perception that they think the fan base wants them to be. I've seen coaches here do it. I thought Mike DeBoer did it when I first got to Tuscaloosa. He was trying to coach to he wasn't himself. Now, he got better at it as he went along, but it's just like the first game, he wore a shirt and tie and almost sweated through it on the field. And the next game, he went to a coaching shirt, but he was trying to live up to what he thought Alabama fans expected of their coach. Coach DeBoer doesn't do that. He's doing it his way. Some differences from Major League right off the bat. Alabama had always practiced in the afternoons. He came in last year, morning practices. Total different way of handling the media. Coach Saban was really structured. You got players on Monday, and that was it. They brought him into the Naylor Stone media room, and that was the only opportunity. Coach Saban, though, would meet again with the media on Wednesday, and then would have his coaches show on Thursday. Coach DeBoer does his Monday press conference, and that's it. He does his coaches show on Wednesday night. He doesn't have any more media opportunities, but you get the coordinators every week, and during fall camp, you got numerous player interviews, numerous assistant coaches interviews. So he's a little more loose with the media in regards to how much access you have. At the same time, practices there are more media viewing periods, but it's still limited. And one interesting thing that I still don't understand why they do this, because when you shoot your own video, you get nat sound, obviously. They send out the video with no nat sound. And I was told it comes from the fact that, at least this is what I was told, is that, Coach DeBoer doesn't use profanity. But last year, when they first got here, other coaches do. And there was a writer who wrote a big story on, just because Coach DeBoer didn't use profanity, and he pointed out all the curse words that were being used by other coaches. So I think that had something to do with it. They don't provide nat sound with video, so you have to kind of dub an audio track from a form practice under it, which I don't get that, Mark. But and in terms of his approach, he is much more laid back, and he's intense on the field, but much more approachable, I think, in terms of people feeling comfortable with him. I think when Nick Saban, Mark, there was an aura, when Nick Saban came in, it was like a lot of people, even fans, were like, whoa, should I go up to him? Should I think, Coach DeBoer is much more approachable. So there's a lot of differences. I think in terms of the goals, I think Coach DeBoer is also process oriented. I think he believes everybody wants to win once they get to Saturday, but you win your games in the spring and in the off season and fall camp and in preparation during the week. So there's some differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. And let me say this right off the top, since we haven't talked in a while. And if we're in January, we're having this conversation about Alabama not making the playoff, and that's 24 playoff spots in 2 years, 12 last year, 12 this year. If Alabama can't grab one of those, then we're going to be having a completely different conversation. But I think Alabama's going to have a really good year. I got them going 10-2 with losses at Georgia and South Carolina. That might get them into Atlanta, but even if it doesn't, it's certainly going to get them into the college football playoff. And I think once they get there, Mark, they're going to have a chance to make a run. So I think I think the conversation in January is going to be really, really positive because I do think Alabama is going to live up to the standard this year.